Hi, welcome to my beginners series. So I'm working on a small postcard piece of watercolour paper, and I have a Cotman pan set to work with. I'm going to work with two brushes, which is a round number 10 and a round number 6. And today I'm going to do some loose lavender. I'm going to show you a little bit about what negative painting is. So I'm just with my round number 10. I'm going to pop on some water to start with. Plenty of water on there. Loading my brush up with water. I'm going to come into the cerulean blue, and I'm going to do upwards and outward strokes, so a bit like grasses, something growing upwards and outwards. Basically, that's what I want to create. I'm going to dip into some cadmium yellow. I'm using whatever colours I've got on the palette, and I know that lavender is quite a silvery green. So the coolness of the cerulean blue and the yellow, which isn't cool, but the blue should make it fairly cool, is going to work quite nicely. If I dip back into the blue, so I've not added any more water to my brush, I'm just going to get some extra colour within there. So in my palette I haven't got a purple, so I'm going to make one. So I've got some alizarin crimson and a bit of this cerulean blue. I'm going to make a lavender colour. So more blue will make it more lavender. And then I can come in, and this is still with my round number 10, and create a loose lavender shape. Everything works better in odds, so we're going to pop 3 in. See me stroking inwards and coming down. Doesn't matter that they're going blurry, it doesn't matter that they're coming out and about. We want this to happen. Then I'm going to come into the alizarin crimson. I've loaded my brush with water. I'm going to hold my finger there, and then I'm going to add some loose speckles. I've let that settle a little bit, but it's still quite wet. I'm going to come into some sap green and cerulean blue and do the same. I'm going to keep these a bit lower. So this is going to give us a nice loose background to work into. So I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry now. I am going to mix up some more of this lavender colour, which is the cerulean blue and the alizarin crimson. If you haven't got those, you could use any red and blue to make a purple. And what I want to do is come in and just start to create an effect of lavender over the top of this loose area. So you're going to paint on to dry, then you're going to pick up a wet brush. This is fairly wet, you can see on my finger, and you're just going to soften in by painting just slightly over the top. See, it's going to give you light and dark areas on each of these. And I can do a few, you can do one at a time if you want to. Nice little bit of water. Again, just to soften in. You don't have to worry about every single shape being the shape that you want it to be. some of them can blur out and it will still work. It'll still fill in as lavender. In fact, if you now just dot a little bit of clean water in places, that will help to blur that a little bit. So the whole point of this is it's going to be quite loose. So I'm just dotting at the ends, and that's going to help to blur that just a little bit. The other thing that I'm going to do is take some lavender leaves in. So I'm going to use that same sap green and cerulean blue mix. So I'm just wanting to get a nice bluey green. I'm going to pop some of those in. So this is what I would call positive painting. So we are painting the object that we're trying to achieve. Negative painting is when you paint behind the object. So we're going to do that next to bring them out. So I take a little bit of this through this lavender. I've gone for French lavender. It's a bit more flamboyant. Both smell nice. I'm just dabbing that off a little bit. Okay, so you can also just take in little bits of water. So this is a wet brush number 6 again, just touching places so that blends a little bit as well. You want this all to feel quite loose. I'm going to dry that off. Okay, so that's nicely dry now. So the easiest way for me to explain negative painting is to draw onto this. So if I draw, this is a bit of lavender, and I draw a few leaves here. I'm just going to focus on this side. So I can now see the positive, and what we're going to do is paint the negative. So to paint the negative, we will paint the background. So I have got my round number 10, and I'm wetting further than I need to go. So I've wet the whole of this section really. And then I'm going to pick a contrasting colour. So let's go with yellow, because yellow contrasts really nicely and complementary against purple. And then what I'm going to do is come round in the background. So I'm coming round my drawing. So this is the principle of negative painting. I am painting the background to bring out the object in the foreground. So I'm painting the background here to bring out the lavender. That's my objective. To bring out the lavender and bring out these leaves. I'm not actually going to paint the leaves. I'm just doing this to bring them out. It's nice to use a combination of colours. So this is all going into wet. So if we take something a bit darker, got some burnt umber here, and some ultramarine blue. One of my favourite sort of dark colours is like a maroon. Bit more blue, so that was a bit of a alizarin crimson in there as well. And I can just come in and just accentuate a bit of this dark. And that's going to help to bring it out. This is the simplest way to explain negative painting, Negative painting adds an additional dimension to your work, and it's really nice to have some of it in a piece. So it's something that you really want to practice. This is just a wet brush because some of this is dried. I'm just going to play with that a little bit on the surface just to help it move. So that's the simplest way to explain that. What I will do as well to balance this now is bring in a little bit more this side. So I'm going to bring out a couple more leaves. So I'm not actually drawing it on this time. I've explained it and drawn it on, and I'm going to just paint this side so you can see how I would do it. So that's the little bit of water, and I've left the bits dry. And then I'm using that same yellow on my round number 6. And I'm bringing out this lavender shape. It doesn't have to be as precise as the one over there. It will still fall together as a lavender shape. And some additional leaves. Give my brush a rinse. I'll come into this maroony colour. A little bit of dark. And I'm painting the background to bring out the foreground. It's something that's quite hard to get, but the more you practice, the better you will get at it. So don't be defeated. Just going to wet that bit and bring that into there. It's moved right the way to the edge. There's a little bit here as well. We'll just wet that edge. Okay, so I'll dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry, and I've just rubbed out that pencil mark there. So you can see how you can be quite precise and get this negative painting, and you can be quite loose and get this negative painting shape, and they still both work as lavender, and they work particularly well in the distance because they're set back and have less detail. So if I'm going to just come on a little bit more. Just give it a little bit more. So I'm mixing that lavender colour. This again is my round number 6. I'm just going to add a bit of shadow in places on here. I have already got a bit of shadow, but it's just adding a little bit more. I really want to bold this one up in the centre. And then I'm going to load my round number 6 with some water and come in. I'm going to create some splatters. So these are splatters on dry now. So hitting my finger, keeping myself quite close to the paper so it doesn't go up the wall. And then I'm going to do the same with the alizarin crimson. So I've loaded the brush, hitting my finger. If there's any you don't like, then just pick up a bit of kitchen towel. So if there's too many that's come onto here, take a few off, dab a few off. It works. And then the last colour I'm going to do is the cerulean blue. So again, holding my finger close, hitting it. So this is called throwing paint or splattering. It works nicely for loose. I'm going to bring in a few strokes at the front for this cerulean blue. So it's a lovely loose lavender exercise for you. So I'll dry that off. And there we go, we're finished. So that's nice loose lavender painting. A bit of positive painting where you're painting the object, a bit of negative painting where you're painting the background to bring out the object. If you've enjoyed it, please do like, subscribe and share. I'll pop you another video here and I'll see you next time.